Welcome to episode 187 of Respawning Fire, the kick-ass irreverent gaming podcast from affable idiots, brought to you in the era of PS5 and Xbox Series X, the next generation consoles. I am Holden DePardo. I'm also here with
Chad Michaelinis.
And we've got the dreamiest fan base of all time joining us all over the world right now on Twitch, which airs every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't catch us then, we're going to be on YouTube and podcast services at 9 a.m. Eastern Time Tuesday. This week, we got our PlayStation 5 consoles.
Yes,
Chad
we
also
did.
got another box, too.
I got an Xbox Series X and another box. The future is here, Stadia.
It's a new generation console. It's not a next generation. It's new generation. We're going to talk about the games that we've been playing at the PS5 launch. And then we're going to talk about the hardware itself, but Chad, take us through that.
Yeah, we have a fun, cool little thing we're going to be doing for all you little birdies out there, all you lifelong friends. We're going to have a couple of discussions for reviewing the consoles themselves. This will happen, if you're watching this on Sunday, live on Twitch, tomorrow night, Monday. If you're listening to this afterwards, it's already out. Tomorrow night, Monday, we're going to be live streaming with a bunch of your lifelong friends that you know and love, our Xbox Series X review. And then on Tuesday, we're going to have another selection of completely different lifelong friends, but myself will be the same between the two. We're going to be reviewing the PS5 console, and with that, we're also including Astro's Playroom. So those two discussions are coming up in the next couple of days. It's going to be very great. Look for those on the YouTubes. You can see them on our social medias. And then we are also going to be doing some spoiler cast reviews of many launch games starting the week of Thanksgiving, like early the week of Thanksgiving. So look for those as a little, sorry, we don't call it Thanksgiving here. We call it American November Christmas. Because everything is just Christmas. That's right, because we're the official podcast of Christmas. And so we're gonna be doing a review, probably starting with Spider-Man Miles Morales that week of Thanksgiving, and a couple other ones that come out, depending on whether or not we have Demon Souls. We are going to review Destiny 2 Beyond Light. And a little bit later, obviously, we're going to talk about Godfall and Sackboy. So we've got a bunch of fun things we're going to be reviewing over the next couple of weeks. Look for all that content on our YouTube channel. Go right now to youtube.com/whatever the remainder of it is down in our description. All right, Holden, your turn.
Yeah, so we're just jumping right into PS5 launch games, which we played a good amount of them. I'd say we played a good amount of them. Basically, all the PlayStation exclusive ones. Between us, we all played.
Faux show.
Not counting Godfall.
Here's what
we'll get to Godfall later.
We're going to call out. We did not play really Godfall. Holden played a little tiny bit of it.
Not enough to talk about, but I did.
We did not play Assassin's Creed Valhalla. We did not play Watch Dogs Legion. Son of a bitch, I'm dying.
Yeah, just focus on those PS exclusives. You know
yeah. And we also played all the Xbox Series X exclusives. So we'll talk about all of those today as well.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit of just impressions of these games. We've beaten some of them, but we're not going to go into any kind of spoilers for any of these games. It's going to be great. We're going to have a ton of fun today talking. Hold on, how do you want to pace this and do this conversation? Split it up.
I think a lot of people are going to be excited to hear your thoughts on Spider-Man Miles Morales. So let's just jump into that one first. I have not played this. Only Chad played this one. I think we all know how I feel about Spider-Man.
Yes.
Although being swayed. I am being swayed, I will say.
If you get swayed to play this game, I don't want to hear you say a word about it. Because Spider-Man Miles Morales, I have beat Spider-Man Miles Morales. I am working on cleanup afterwards, and then eventually going to get the Platinum Trophy in it. It is a wonderful game. Wonderful game. An excellent showcase title for PlayStation 5 as well. And if you're thinking about like, oh, how does it compare to the original Spider-Man? Does it feel like an expansion? Does it feel like DLC for it? It is certainly its own game. It is fun to swing through the exact same New York City, but completely covered in snow and Christmas lights and stuff like that. So it's a fun new take on a familiar place. But then you also have like, oh, I remember where like that particular location. I fought so-and-so as Spider-Man in the last game, and now I'm here doing this as Miles. So it has that familiarity to it as well. The game itself, I do believe, is a little bit better than Spider-Man PS4, which already was fantastic. It was one of my favorite games of 2018. But yeah, I think this is better, partially because it is a little bit more contained experience. It took me 11 hours, and I did quite a bit of side stuff while I was playing it. Although arguably, maybe the best quests are post-game after you beat it. So it's a little bit shorter compared to like the 20-hour campaign, not including extra stuff in Spider-Man. And the game itself runs so freaking and is beautiful, Holden. You get the choice to choose between performance and fidelity. And I played starting right off the bat in fidelity mode, 30 frames per second. Beautiful ray tracing and like particle effects and things like that just aren't in the regular performance mode. And it's just jaw-droppingly gorgeous. It is that same, technically I think it's running in the same engine that Spider-Man was, but there's just so much more they're able to do with it on PS5. And then I switched for one mission to the performance mode, running 60 frames per second, still at 4K, but with no graphical enhancements, no ray tracing. And I was like, damn, this combat feels super fluid, because I wanted to make sure I played like an entire mission, got a couple of different types of experiences with it. I was like, combat feels super fluid. It's a little jarring at first if you're playing the same game from 30 to 60 frames per second, just like to see the difference between the two, especially if you're used to playing one over the other and then you jump to one for the first time. But ultimately, I just decided that it was too beautiful. The ray tracing was too beautiful to not play it that way. But I think it's great either way. There are rumors that apparently there's going to be a third option sometime in the future with 60 ray tracing, 60 frames per second, but at 1080 and then scaled up to 4K. So I'm interested to see what that looks like, because this
sounds like a good option.
Yeah, but what they're able to pull out of this console at launch, obviously they've had a dev kit for like a little over a year. Probably since their PlayStation first party, they've probably had it for a couple of years. But what they're already able to pull out of this console compared to what you saw on PS4 Pro at the end of its life cycle is it's stunning. It's stunning. The game itself, the relationships that you build, I feel like they're a little bit easier to. They're less familiar. Obviously, I know one of your gripes with Spider-Man is that you just don't care about the Spider-Man story anymore. The Aunt May, Uncle Ben, all that kind of stuff. So less familiar. There are fun twists on, even if you saw Into the Spider-Verse and you know who some of the characters are and their relationship to Miles already, it's still, you're not going to guess where they go next, which is cool. The villain's really fun. The couple of villains actually that are in it really fun. Peter Parker is taken to another level in this game as well, which is pretty great. But yeah, this game is more contained. I feel like there are a lot of really great emotional moments, a lot of times where I was just like, God, I care for Miles on and some of the people that he's interacting with, or I don't know how to say it without kind of spoiling something, but I care about him and the people around him a lot more than I thought I would, and a little bit more than I did about Spider-Man with Peter Parker and Aunt May and Mary Jane. Mm-hmm. So it's great. Oh my God, the sounds of this game, every single sound, Holden, from the like confirming something on a menu or powering up a skill or everything has this really like this dope iconic aesthetic to it. Like every single sound in that game contributes to the overall design of what
very high fidelity sounds.
I don't know what that means. I mean, they were high fidelity in terms of quality.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yes. So it's wonderful. I am enjoying the hell out of that game. I'm very excited to go back and play New Game Plus, mop up that platinum. V-Excite.
Yeah, I'm starting to get tempted into playing it. I don't know if I'm going to anytime soon, just because there's so much to play still. But knowing it's a more contained story, that was one of my big gripes of Spider-Man, is for me, Spider-Man felt just super dragged out. It felt like the story began and then a bunch of bullshit happened in the middle and then an ending happened. So I feel like this sounds like it's going to be a more concise story, which interests me. I also would just like to see that game running on a PS5 and 60 frames per second, because part of what I did like about Spider-Man was it already felt really fluid, and swinging around the city and all that felt really great. And when I'm seeing these screenshots and GIFs and videos of Miles swinging around the city, I'm like, fuck, that looks really good. I'm really impressed by how good that looks. In fact, I still remember when I watched the PlayStation 5 reveal event back in June. It was June, and it was in the August one, September. It was September when they announced the price and all that, and they showed the cover for the first time. I remember thinking, "Holy shit, that's what a next-gen Spider-Man game looks like."
Right?
Yeah, that's what a next-gen Spider-Man games looks like. And then afterwards, we found out it was a PS4 back compat game that's been upgraded for PS5 and like tailored for PS5. And like, holy crap, like that's really impressive. And I kind of just want to experience that and kind of see what that's like. Because spoiler alert for the future, I've been really impressed with Sackboy and like how that still like feels like a next gen game, even though it's that kind of cross gen game. So I'm curious how they do that with Spider-Man. But yeah, like you said too, like Miles Morales sounds more interesting as a character. And you didn't talk about this too much. Actually, I'm kind of curious. Having the different powers, I found all the Peter Parker's powers are like, it's a web thing. Oh, this is a gadget that does web stuff. This is another gadget, it does web stuff. But it seems like this has much more variety in it. Can you speak to that at all?
It does, yeah. So there's you have fewer like gadgets to pick from, just because Peter obviously he's been around a little bit longer. He's had a lot more time to develop things. So you have fewer gadgets, but you have more powers. The two of them being camouflage, ability to go invisible, and then the venom powers like venom punch and things like that. So those augment the venom ones are basically all of your other types of skills, but with an extra boost to them, with a couple of exceptions. But they make for playing the game a little bit different. Like there are certain types of enemies that are only vulnerable to venom stuff, and then once you break through that, then you're able to do other things. So it kind of adds another dimension to the gameplay rather than just heavy attacks, light attacks, different types of web stuff for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I kind of I was just thinking about while you were talking about the story stuff. It's more of a contained story, I think, because it's just an A story. In Spider-Man, you had all sorts of side missions, and it was an A story. There was a B story. There were different types of villains that you could go out and do side missions. But this is really everything is just contributing to one through line, and there's no B story to it to kind of distract you from it at all. So I think it's more focused. I think you'll enjoy it more if you end up playing it. And it's a budget title, $40, so that means it's obviously worse. Just kidding, it's amazing.
I mean, it seems like it's Lost Legacy, but better.
I don't even know if that's a fair comparison.
Well, like, I guess what I'm saying is that Lost Legacy was kind of like Uncharted, but it was a step down in some ways, whereas this is a similar kind of contained story that's more isolated, but it's a step up as opposed to a step down.
I feel like it is that exact analogy if you're just looking at gameplay length. Like it is a full-fledged game that is a fraction of the regular, a significant fraction of the other original game. But
so you see this very much as like Spider-Man 2 without really being called Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, it's like a shorter Spider-Man 2 from a different person's perspective.
Okay.
It's pretty good. You should definitely play it. But as I mentioned again, if you play it and you don't like it, don't you fucking dare tell me. I will be so mad at you, and you'll never earn my respect again.
Tell about Destiny 2. You have this on here. It doesn't have the next-gen upgrades yet, but what is that kind of back compat experience like with Destiny?
So I wanted to talk about Destiny 1 because it was the only game I played on Xbox Series X.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. That makes more sense now.
We played Destiny Beyond Light, which is the new expansion that came out on November 10th, alongside the new consoles.
I'm very curious about this.
It basically the only thing that's available for next-gen consoles right now is just faster load times. There's no patch yet until December 8th, but the load times are really fast to the point now to where like I can't get on my phone on Twitter. Like that used to be our go-to. Like, hey, we're playing. All right, we're gonna warp to here to do this mission or start this strike. Cool. Everyone, take out your phone, go pee, get a snack or something like that. And now it's just you're there within like 20, 30 seconds, which is not enough time to really do anything. Which is incredibly impressive for Destiny. And if you're even just warping between different areas on the same planet, it's super quick.
That's great to hear because those load times were like literally minutes long.
Yep.
It was crazy how long those load times were.
So we're gonna, in fact, right after this podcast today, we're gonna pick it back up. We're gonna jump in. We're gonna do more of the story stuff because we're working our way through the Beyond Light campaign. We haven't yet gotten our ice powers. We've only done a couple of missions, but it's gonna be so freaking exciting. I love the cinematics of that game. I love the gameplay loop of that game. I love the shooting. I love everything about it. There are new systems as well, like your ghost that you have is now like upgradable with different mods. So now you can finally pick a ghost that you like and then customize it the way you want. So I'm liking that a lot. I'm not loving. We'll go more into the review of this, but I'm not loving they're taking a lot of the weapons that were available previously. They are sunsetting just like they did some of the locations, where you just cannot upgrade them further. Usually with any weapon, hey, I found something stronger. I'm just gonna absorb that light power into my current weapon and make my current weapon stronger. But there are a bunch of weapons that you just cannot do that to anymore. So you're forced to use the new weapons. They're retiring other weapons just because they're like,
but they're still there.
They're still there, but you can't. Yeah. I mean, they're not effective because their level is too low.
It sounds confusing.
It is a little bit, especially because it's not readily visible, like when you're looking at the weapon, whether or not, or at least I haven't seen it so far, whether or not that is something that can be upgraded or should be worth your time investing into, or one day you'll just get a message that says you can't upgrade this any further because it's capped.
I feel like they just should have taken it away at that point. Like they've already taken away entire worlds. They Thanos'd Destiny 2. Why not just Thanos the guns as well?
No, I feel like if they were the guns are things. They're little things. They're mementos of pride, basically, for a lot of people, because a lot of them are, I worked very, very hard and spent tens of hours on this quest line or killing a bunch of things in this specific way in order to unlock this gun. If they just took that away, people would be fucking furious. So better to just make it useless instead, but let you keep it. I don't know. This could return from the vault just like other things in the future, and suddenly these weapons are usable again, but who knows? But again, we're just kind of scratching the surface. We've played maybe only about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of that. We're just scratching the surface on that one.
There are two games that we played in common. Before we get to those, I just want to jump to a game that I played that you didn't play, which was Sackboy: A Big Adventure.
Yeah.
I haven't played too much of it. I just kind of wanted to experience what the haptics were like in it and that kind of stuff. But we'll talk more about the haptics when we talk about PS5 review on Tuesday. So I'm not going to talk about that, but I will say very good haptics, very enjoyable. But I won't get into the specifics of it quite yet. Overall, I'm really liking Sackboy: A Big Adventure a lot. I think that not just Sony, but I think that the video game industry needs more 3D platformers than just Mario, because it's a fantastic genre that I don't think
Crash
is
Bandicoot
easy to pull off.
Insane Trilogy on the PS5 Plus collection
and
of
that
games.
Fourth one that did really well. And Ukulele, which did really well. There aren't a lot of really
and the Impossible
great...
Lair apparently is very good.
I haven't even heard of that one.
That's the 2D like Donkey Kong Country style one.
Oh, I'm talking 3D platformers. 3D platformers. Which we actually have two now at the launch of PS5. But this is a really solid 3D platformer, and it reminds me more of how Donkey Kong Country is versus how Super Mario World would be in terms of like Super Mario World. I guess I know those are 2D platforms, but like bear with the analogy for a second. 3D World and Mario games in general kind of have this philosophy of, hey, we're going to show you a mechanic, and then we're going to evolve that mechanic like throughout the level. Whereas Donkey Kong Country was more like you're on a journey, and like crazy shit can happen, and anything's going to happen on this one level, and you're just taken through it in a much greater variety of challenges throughout a single level in Donkey Kong Country than you would be in a Super Mario World. Not to speak poorly of any one of them, like it's just a difference in style, and Sackboy falls more into that Donkey Kong Country, where right now it feels like each level is kind of like exploring it, finding all the little hidden secrets that are everywhere, which there are tons of. There are tons of secrets hidden all over all these levels, and it kind of feels more like that journey throughout the level that you would experience in a Donkey Kong Country, but in a 3D world with Sackboy, and it's charming and lovable, and it's fantastic, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I really can't wait for the multiplayer to come to this, where we can all play it together. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's where I'm saving that game. I'm putting time into other things that I know I'll because I eventually get to Sackboy as soon as online multiplayer becomes a thing, either later
Hopefully
this month
soon.
or early December. They definitely said before the end of the year. This is also your first Little Big Planet game, right?
Yes. I think I got Little Big Planet on Vita and played it for like 3 seconds and just didn't keep going with it for whatever reason. Nothing against Little Big Planet. I don't know, it didn't speak to me. The other thing that happened this week, and actually this Chad and I do have in common, Chad and I both got Stadia because we were YouTube Premium members, and if you used YouTube Premium before November 6th, you could just get Stadia for free. It actually arrived a full week before it was supposed to, which is great for Stadia because it will just continue to sit in a box in my house 1 week longer than it would have normally, because I'm not going to... I think the plastic is still open on yours. Or
no,
it's not open. It's still on
the
yours.
plastic on it.
Yeah, I worded that poorly. I meant to say the plastic's still on it and then used opened when that doesn't make any sense in the context of what I was trying to ask you. I at least took the plastic off. I held the controller and went, huh, and then put it right back in the box and started my PlayStation 5 again. And that's all I had to say about that. Chad,
it's pretty...
Demon Souls are good. Yeah.
I just want to mention the fact that like Stadia, giving Stadia away to YouTube Premium members... It's the Premier Edition, so you get the controller and you get the 3 months of Pro membership, and you get 4K. That's the Pro membership, so that's what you get as part of this. And you get the Google Chromecast 4K Ultra HD, whatever. Giving that away for free to YouTube Premium members is just like that screams that they're hemorrhaging money and that no one's playing it, and they're trying to build a user base, even with an existing free tier of the service. Yeah. Like there is an existing, you can get on and play for free without needing to be a YouTube member at all. And no one's doing it. And so this seems so desperate to me. And I got it. I'll take their product, and then if I am ever like in a complete absolute bind and I can't remote play my PS5 and I can't remote play my Xbox Series X, but I need to play something right now and I have a Stadia, if I can't do either of those two things, but I happen to have a Stadia controller nearby, like now I can do that. So yeah. I told my dad about it and he's like, cool, I could use a Chromecast. So he ordered one. Yeah, it's like they're trying to do the Google Home Mini strategy, where like, oh, if you buy a Pixel phone, you get a Google Home Mini with that. If you like open the YouTube app, you get a Google Home Mini for that. And they just gave out Google Home Minis all over the place. And I think that worked for a Google Home Mini because it's a much more passive device, and you just kind of throw it in your house and, oh, okay, I could ask Google to play some music, or oh, I could use this alarm clock. Like someone will find a reason to use it. Yeah. Stadia is not going to do that. And yeah, I agree. They're hemorrhaging money. It definitely seems desperate. On that note of Stadia, Chad and I talked very briefly about this, but with next gen kind of happening and just school and all the hecticness and quite frankly, just not enjoying the video editing process and speaking alone to a camera, we're going to move the grind and what that was going to be into just a discussion between us on some of, I think, the bigger points to discuss in terms of like 5G adoption and how that impacts Stadia going forward, when they're going to be releasing new studios that are releasing games from their studios, that kind of stuff. So that is coming. We're going to figure out what that's going to look like. It will be probably in December, because we always have like one episode where there's no news to talk about because it's December and it's the end of the year. So we'll probably fit it into that slot. So look forward to that there. Before you talk about your next game, can I really quickly do a plug for something I just discovered right now that's amazing? Yeah. I don't know if you've ever made this combination, but have you heard of this Mio? Mio is like, you squirt this in water to flavor it, 0 calories, whatever. There's this mango peach flavor that I just got right now. And I put it in a cup, a little squirt in a cup, and then I poured a can of Mountain Dew Zero and made this beautiful concoction here, and it tastes fucking wonderful, Holden. I think I just made a new Mountain Dew flavor. I just have to go to Pepsi and say, hey, just buy a bunch of Mio and put it in your Mountain Dew Zero. Anyone at home, there's just a bunch of factory workers just squeezing like Mio into like a giant canister. Mio's like, we didn't approve of this. What the hell? Get our label off of your cans. That is fantastic. All right. Sorry, continue. No, we had to end on a positive note after talking about Stadia, so that's a good thing. That's right, yes. Yeah. So we have 2 games that Chad and I both played. We both completed Astro's Playroom. We're both playing Demon's Souls. Chad, which one do you want to start with? Let's talk about Demon's Souls.
Yeah, I keep calling it Demon Souls, but it's Demon's Souls.
Demon's Souls. So the world might be mended. So the world might be mended. That's my impression of the chick with her eyes covered up in the stick, and
Is it the Black Maiden? Is that her name?
Black Maiden.
That's a band.
That's her. Yep.
Yeah. So you've played Demon's Souls before. I haven't. This is totally new for me.
I've played Demon's Souls 1.5 times. 10, 11 years ago, whenever the game came out, and then I played it for half of the time. Yeah, so I played it in 2009, then probably for like half the game, got frustrated and quit, and then came back like a year later and beat it. So it's been a while, as Stained would say. But yes, I've played it before.
What are your thoughts on Demon's Souls, the remake? Does it live up to the original?
It is exactly the original. Which is what Bluepoint is so great at doing. It is exactly the original game in a completely fresh, beautiful, new take. Like all of the mechanics, all of the weapons, all of the enemy placement, everything, the boss battle functionality, like all of it is exactly the same. And that's that Bluepoint respect for the original. But it just looks so frickin' gorgeous. The character model, everything is completely rebuilt from the ground up, just like Shadow of the Colossus, and it's fantastic.
It's flawless. Like everything looks so incredibly detailed. It's perfect. Would you agree it's the best looking game you've ever seen? I can't think of anything that looks better.
No, I would not agree with that. I would say The Last of Us Part 2 is the best looking game that I've ever seen.
Okay, fair enough. I still think Demon's Souls looks better because of just the rocks and the textures and everything.
You also played Last of Us Part 2 on a regular PS4 on a 4K screen versus playing it in the PS4 Pro, the 4K. Just the character models and the emotions that you're able to get out of like that. Everything. Last of Us Part 2. I'm going to play that again right now. Goodbye.
It's down on my PS5. I'm totally playing it again.
Demon's Souls is an incredible looking game. And is one of the best games ever beautiful, like, amazing looking games I've ever seen. But The Last of Us Part 2, I think, right now takes that.
So, I'm trying to get out of you, like, your experience for comparing the two, though. Like, is there anything about the game that you'd wish they'd done differently on it, or... Like,
no,
this is exactly what you were looking for?
It is exactly, like, that's, if I wanted to play Demons, if you get that itch, and you're like, oh man, I wish I could play Demon's Souls again, but then you boot up the original game, and you're like, oh god, this still looks rough, or you're playing it through PlayStation Plus, or, PlayStation Now, or you have it on a PS3, and you have to use the DualShock controller, or the DualShock 3 controller. This is Demon's Souls with the haptics, a little bit of the haptics of the DualSense, with the new upgraded 3D audio. So it is the way that you thought you were playing Demon's Souls 11 years ago, but now in a more modern, beautiful way. And that's all you can really want from it. I don't want anything different from it. Maybe this is not in the game, although it might be because there's this mysterious door that no one can figure out that wasn't in the original. But like the sixth location, like that tombstone in the Nexus is still destroyed as it was in the first one, and there were rumors of, oh, what if they're going to reintroduce that sixth level in the new remake? But no, they're not. But there is still that mysterious door.
Who knows?
So, if they were going to add anything, that's all I would want, is maybe like an extra little boss somewhere. But no, I'm kind of glad that it's the original game in case people want to go back and play it, and you should. Excuse me. Oh god, this MDZ is coming back up a little bit, and it's still delicious. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else left to say. It's the same game and it's great.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who has not played it before, it's just really fucking great. I remember being really skeptical when I first heard the rumor of Bluepoint working in Demon's Souls, and I was always accompanied with, oh, Bluepoint, they're working on the biggest thing they've ever worked on. And I guess I always thought Demon's Souls was a shorter game because I always knew, oh, there's just 5 locations to go to. But these locations are huge. They are absolutely massive, and there's so much to explore within each one that it definitely must have been a huge undertaking, because I was actually listening to their commentary, and it's not just the worlds itself, it's all the different outfits that you wear, all the different weapons, all the different enemy types, all the different bosses, all that stuff. It's a lot of stuff that they worked on, and again, like, it all looks totally flawless. But in terms of it being like a Souls game, I've had a few people ask me how hard it is, and I kind of go back and forth. I think the bosses are much easier than other Dark Souls bosses.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I generally can beat these bosses the second time that I come across them. Like, the first time, it's like, okay, this is how they work. Second time, I'm able to beat them. They're tense, very fun bosses, like, not knocking them, but it doesn't have that, like, oh shit, I played that boss 15 times, and I finally got him on the 15th time. There's one exception to that, and that is a boss that is not, I'm not going to tell you what boss it is, but like, it's not a traditional boss and, like, you know, dodge, hit, block, hit kind of thing. It's like one of the more kind of set piece bosses, and I, for the life of me, could not figure out what they were wanting me to do. So I died against that one like 15 times, but now I'm like, oh, you could easily do this on the first try without ever getting hit if you know exactly what they want you to do and exactly the patterns that are going to be coming up. But still a very cool encounter nonetheless. I'm having a total blast with it. It's phenomenal. One thing I do think is harder, though, is getting to the bosses. Yeah. This is a much harder game when it comes to the exploration, because traditional Dark Souls games have, or I should say Dark Souls, that trilogy, and Bloodborne, and even Sekiro, have the shrines or the bonfires or the lampposts, whatever kind of the equivalent save location. In this game, it's an Arkstone. Is it Arkstone? What's it called? I think it's an Arkstone still. Archstone. Yeah. And they're in Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro, they're littered all over the place. Like, generally after any sort of kind of major encounter, not a boss encounter, but like significant moment in the game, there's some sort of shortcut or some sort of new bonfire that you're not having to travel that far to get to the bosses. Generally speaking, you can just run straight to a boss once you found a boss from either the last bonfire you came across or the shortcut to the original bonfire, like however they end up doing it. This game, there is the bonfire at the beginning of the level, and there's the bonfire at the boss, and there rarely is a shortcut to that boss. Yep. You generally just got to go through everything all over again. And I'll say one location in particular, the Depraved Chasm. I was reading things online saying, oh yeah, that's a good starting area. No, it's not. That place is a pain in the ass. Holy shit. Because a lot of the areas are very narrow, and you're generally literally walking on a plank of wood, and like 3 enemies will come after you, and you have almost no room to work with. It is really challenging in that regard, but it's still really fun to explore around and see the world itself. And a big part of that, too, is just the graphics themselves. It makes it a lot of fun to explore around. So I can't wait to finish that game. We're going to talk about that more when we discuss our kind of next-gen titles for, and it's not BARF, but like the 2 games that everyone reviewed are voted for us to review by the end of the year. So that's one of them. So we'll be talking about that in depth. And then Godfall is the other, which neither of us have meaningfully started playing yet. Jed, you ready to move on to Astro's Playroom?
Oh, yes, Astro's Playroom. Again, we'll go more in-depth spoiler cast and things like that for our PS5 review on Tuesday with Astro. But this is the best pack-in. I honestly kind of think, maybe aside from Super Mario 64, this is the absolute best launch game for a console. One, because it comes with your console, which is awesome, and it's more than just a tech demo. Like, at first, everyone going into it, I think, thought, oh, this is just going to be something that I do while I wait for my other games to download, and it will kind of teach me about some of the cool things of the controller. But no, it's actually a game. It is incredibly nostalgic. There's so many wonderful, cheery things to do as Astrobot. There are, if you played Astrobot Rescue Mission in PSVR, there's a ton of familiar characters and enemies and mechanics that are really fun, but in a new kind of non-VR platformer way, which is really awesome. And I think this is even more better. This is even more successful as a pack-in than I think Wii Sports was. And Wii Sports
Yeah.
is that like everyone and their mom wants to play it, but I think this is like actually a good game. It's great.
Wii Sports is like a novelty thing. It's not, like, it's not a real game. And I keep hearing that, Astrobot's the best pack-in since Wii Sports. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's better than Wii Sports. I definitely agree with that. It's definitely better than Wii Sports.
If anyone who still today has a Wii, I guarantee you they just have it to play Wii Sports. And I also guarantee you they're a 55-year-old woman.
This game, though, I really want to spawn a series. I get that Astrobot Rescue Mission technically spawned the series. I'm talking non-VR.
Technically, the Playroom spawned the series.
That's true, yeah. I'm talking like a 3D platformer with Astrobot as the main character in a non-VR setting. I want that game.
There is more coming.
And expanded,
The developer said there is more Astro news coming in the future.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so exciting. Because it's a total blast. It's so charming. All of the PlayStation references throughout are just a ton of fun. And it's kind of fun figuring out what some of them are. Some will hit you immediately. Some you'll have to kind of do a few glances and look at multiple angles to kind of get it. And then there's one in particular where I'm like, I have no idea where that's from. And I haven't seen anyone mention what it is. Hot take spoiler here. Not a hot take prediction here. Are they teasing a future IP in this? That'd be a cool way to do it.
I don't know what you're referencing.
There's one with a guy sitting on a step. It was the one I thought was Dark Cloud possibly.
Oh,
and
no,
then we weren't
Demon
sure.
Souls.
Was that Demon Souls from?
Yeah, that's the Black Maiden with the fire stick, and then
I'm
knight
bummed.
with
I
the
wanted to
sword
be like a
kneeling
tease
down
for something else. That makes sense. Yeah. I want to be a tease for something else in the future. That's what I was hoping, but that makes sense.
That next morning, you need to read our text message thread. That next morning, I texted the group and said, "Hey,
so
it's
much.
Demon
I can
Souls."
never keep up to all of it. There's so
Well, if you
much.
if you look at it throughout the day rather than all at once.
You guys wake up so much earlier than I do. So by the time I wake up, there's already like an entire novel written in the group chat.
I also love when we. This is just this is our personal lives as a podcast, but that's what you're here to listen to. I love the days. This has happened a few times where, like in the morning, we'll all talk about something and then we'll talk about it at length, and then like halfway through the afternoon, Holden's like, "Did you guys see this?" And you post it like it's a complete surprise. I'm like, "Yeah, we've already had a whole conversation about that."
I don't say it's a complete surprise. I just throw in my 2 cents on it. Like, hey, this is cool for this reason. I'm not saying it's a surprise.
It's more of like a "Have you seen this?" Like, I'm introducing this to this thread for the first time. It's like, no, bruh.
You guys get up too early and text novels.
I get up.
I can't keep up.
I get up at a regular adult. I get up at a regular teenager time. No, I can't even say that. Teenager time is like 12 or 1. I get up at like 9:30 or 10, which is too late for an average adult. I can't defend it. But also, you should be getting up that early. Oh no, I do not.
I stay up too late is my problem.
Yep.
Yeah, especially this week with Demon Souls. Way too late playing Demon Souls tonight.
Every single day since, except for last night. Last night I went to bed at 1, but every day since PS5 launched, so it's 2 days, 2:30 is when I went to bed, which it's unreal for me. I don't go to bed that late. I go to bed like normally 11:30 or 12, but it's insane. It's gross. And I still have 3 days off of work after this too, that I'm going to continue doing it.
Go back to Astrobot.
Yeah.
I think what's a testament to how this is like a real game is how many people I hear excited they got the platinum for it.
Yeah, that's me. Hi, Astro's Playroom Platinum holder, Chad Michaelinis.
Even I was tempted to get the platinum for it, but then it's time away from Demon Souls, so I didn't.
It's honestly, it's super quick platinum, and it's not much more than just than just going and collecting all the things that you already want to collect anyway, like all the artifacts and puzzle pieces.
How are the time trials? Because that's the one where I'm like, that could be really time consuming.
You don't need those for the platinum.
Oh, you don't need those for the platinum?
Those are extra trophies if you want them.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh, okay. Then the other ones I think I saw were like, have 10 little bots follow you in the CPU plaza.
Yeah,
like stuff like that. Like
just go punch 10 bots and they follow you.
Yeah, I did do the one where you. Well, this is fun. We won't talk about that. The breaking the glass one, which is cool. Oh, the punching the glass. Yeah, like in terms of, and not, without talking about the haptics and that kind of stuff, the environments and the levels are really fun to explore. The artifacts everywhere is just a super fun collectathon. I really wanted to fill in the entire puzzle piece wall and all the little collectibles, like the Vita. The bot away card for the Vita, which is tearaway, like all the bot puns in there. The
Bot
Eco one made me
charted
laugh.
on the PS3.
Yeah, Eco was just bot, and I just knew exactly what it was
Yes.
immediately. That game is a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun.
Speaking of, Dallas just showed up in this chat and said, "Fuck, I'm late. I was beating Astro with my son."
Speak of the devil.
Go
Astro,
to
not Dallas. He's not the devil. He's awesome.
twitter.com/dsmittygames and watch his daughter in front of the TV waving to Astrobot.
Yeah.
It's adorable.
So yeah, those are the PlayStation 5 launch games that we played. Oh, and also Stadia and Destiny 2 on Series X. But the rest were all PS5 launch games. Good stuff. Good, very, very good collection of launch games.
Yeah.
Like these would have been good games on their own without being launch titles. It's not even like, oh, they're really good for launch titles. They're all just good games.
Yeah, which is the first, like, there are very few games that you can say that about. It is a launch title, and it is also good. And think about, like, Knack, Killzone Shadowfall, like, all these games that they launched, and they were successful because they were the only thing to play at launch, and everyone wanted to play something new on the system, but they weren't necessarily great games. Whereas these are just like, these are fucking great games, and also they come with amazing technology.
Of the launches that I'm aware of, I think this is hands down the best launch lineup for the console, and I don't even think it's close. And I'm including Switch and Breath of the Wild, because outside of Breath of the Wild, which is my favorite game, that was all that there was for like almost 2
There was 1-2 Switch,
months.
and we ate sandwiches in front of each other, and we
snipper
rocked
clips.
babies, and we played snipper clips at a Chipotle.
That's right. But this has a plethora of great games.
Yeah.
So good on Sony. Good on Sony. Oh, and let's talk about the Series X launch games that are exclusive.
Done.
Moving on to the quest log. There weren't many stories this week, just because obviously the attention was primarily on the launch of the Series X and PS5. So we don't have like a ton of new stories to talk about. None of them are like super robust. There's actually a few important ones in here, but let's start it off. It's just a fetch quest, basically. Starting it off with Xbox Series X pre-orders at Amazon could be delayed until the end of the year, says Ryan Meitzler at DualShockers. They were delayed. We have seen in our own Twitter threads, friends of ours, showing the screenshot of the email they got from Amazon, and basically saying that it's going to come within the next few weeks, but at the latest December 31st. I think this is complete horseshit on Amazon's part. They could have sent those emails out a while ago, as opposed to the day before it comes out.
Yeah, it was way too late to inform people. That's why I actually canceled both my Amazon orders and continued to look for other things, because it was just ambiguous. Like, oh, we'll tell you when we have stock availability. And I didn't want to end up like one of these suckers who's like, I thought I had a game system reserved, and it turns out I'm not going to have one until New Year's Eve. That is absolutely unacceptable. Especially knowing that, like, thinking that I had something coming the next day, and then getting that email and being like, well, fuck. Now there are so many opportunities that I could have been looking elsewhere, or when things were going live occasionally at Best Buy or things like that, that I thought I was good to go, but it turns out Amazon fucked me. So yeah, that is just, it's horseshit. And I feel so bad for anyone who got caught up in that. It's awful.
Yeah, real crummy. Epic Games is gauging interest in monthly Fortnite subscription, says James Batchelor at gamesindustry.biz. So players are being asked in a survey if they would subscribe for access to the Battle Pass, early access to certain skins, and or 1,000 V-Bucks. There's also one where you might get like 1,000 V-Bucks per week. They're kind of asking like a different range of what you might want to get, and the prices could range from $5 to $18 a month. Chad, why are you going to be subscribing to the Fortnite monthly subscription?
As someone who has literally never opened the Fortnite app or game on any system, but has downloaded it a couple times. No, it's an interesting step. Obviously, they need to bring in a little bit more money, as they lost a good chunk of their user base with the iOS lawsuit. But people are more open to subscription models. I know, like World of Warcraft, the number one thing that kept me from playing that game ever was the subscription model. Especially way back then, I was like, I don't want to have to ask my mom to pay $15 a month for me to play this game. It's much easier for me to ask her to buy me one game for Christmas and play it forever. But again, yeah, people are much more open to subscriptions nowadays as we pay for everything with a subscription. And honestly, if people spend money in Fortnite the way that I spend money in Pokemon Go, I can see the correlation. Like, if I got a Pokemon Go subscription that said, hey, if you pay $3 to $5 a month, we'll give you occasionally some incubators, we'll give you some coins to spend in the shop, we'll give you whatever the fuck you want, and then yeah, I would do that. So I can see this is totally great. This is fine. And it's not a to play the game you now have to pay a monthly fee. It is a
unlike World of Warcraft, which you do have to pay that to play the game. Yeah.
This is just another way to get the battle pass, another way to access the store and get skins.
Yeah. I
Good
feel
on them
like
for experimenting.
5 is probably the better direction to lean in. 18, it's like that's the price of Netflix per month in 4K. That's, I think, a little steep. But
also, how ridiculous is it that that's the price of Netflix right now?
Yeah, I know. I honestly, it's becoming a harder pill to swallow. But speaking of hard pills to swallow and lots of money, Take-Two agrees to a $994 million deal to acquire Codemasters, says Joe Screbbles at IGN. This would include the studio and publishing arm of Codemasters. Most notably, Dirt, F1 Racing, and Project Cars are kind of synonymous with Codemasters. This is definitely a big acquisition.
Yeah, that place loves cars.
I love cars, yeah.
They got projects around cars. They love dirt on cars. They love racing cars. Does Take-Two... I'm trying to think of like all the games that Take-Two has right now. Do they have any kind of racing or car combat or anything like that?
So this is kind of part of the rumor is that Take-Two owns Rockstar. People have been wanting Midnight Club from Rockstar for a while because that was a racing series made by Rockstar. Rockstar's probably wanting to focus on GTA and not a racing game. So
they want to focus more on GTA 5 some more.
Yeah, they want to focus on GTA 5 some more. Exactly. So maybe, possibly, this has been speculated. Unspeculated with, I don't think, anything to really back it, but it's just people speculating online. That's how it works. That they're buying this Codemasters so that they can make a Midnight Club game. They do like racing games after all, so it's possible. But we don't really know for sure. We won't know for a while, probably. Either way, they put down big money for it. So
yeah, almost $1 billion.
Yeah, almost $1 billion. Like, literally $6 million shy from $1 billion. Codemasters just be like, come on, guys, just give us the $6 extra billion and just even it out. Phil Spencer had a few interviews with some interesting things said within them. Starting off, there's 3 stories here related to the interview. We'll do them one by one. Even though actually the last 2 are kind of related. But anyway, Spencer says Microsoft almost abandoned Xbox brand after the launch of Xbox One. This is an article from Kyle Orland at Ars Technica, who pulled that bit from the interview. Because of the poor launch and being outperformed so dramatically by PlayStation, there were discussions to end Xbox. But Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella opted to keep Microsoft under Spencer's leadership. Actually, it's kind of funny. Phil Spencer was saying... he's kind of, to be humble, he's like, it's not that I was picked as the leader because I was like so great, but literally because I was the last person at the table. I think I was just the last one there. So I'm glad that didn't happen because I think that the industry wouldn't be in its position now where it's just more friendly, I'd say, and kind of more open than it has been before in terms of offering Game Pass and different things to kind of get people into gaming and experiencing different things. I love Sony a lot, but it's definitely a more restrictive model than Microsoft is offering, and I'd like to see where that model is going to go in the future and where that takes us. So I think it's good that happened, obviously.
Yeah, remember when you like predicted, oh, Xbox is doomed? Turns out that like they might have actually been doomed at the time.
Yeah,
you might have been right.
The other one, Elden Ring, is real, and Phil Spencer has played it. Oh man, this got me so excited. Spencer said he's played quite a bit of Elden Ring and says it's, quote, clearly the most ambitious game that From Software has done. Oh, man.
You have Demon Souls and you have Boss Rush mode in Sekiro. You can hold out. You can just give it a little bit of time. Elden Ring will come eventually.
It'll come eventually. I'm still extremely excited for this game. I've spent a little bit of time on the Elden Ring subreddits and looking at all the rumors and what all the peeps are saying about what that game could be, and I mean, they're rumors. There's no way to know if any of them are true or not, but I'm liking the rumors, and I hope it matches what the rumors are, which is this like open world, kind of like Breath of the Wild style, go anywhere you want, do anything that you want, but it's a Dark Souls experience and kind of that dark fantasy. But it's not, it sounds different enough from Dark Souls. It's not dodge, roll, block only. It sounds like it's much more versatile in terms of the options you have available to you. There's also like randomized events throughout the world, so that path you take might not be the same every time you go down it.
Ooh, so, nope. I don't like that. That's part of mastering Dark Souls, Bloodborne, all that kind of stuff is like you learn the enemy placement, you learn all of that. If it's randomized, I'm fucked.
I think what I like about the randomized is that the best Dark Souls experience to me is the first time you play a game, because there's the fear of like walking in a room and not knowing what's going to happen. You got to be cautious walking through. And then once you know what's going on, like, you can literally just run through.
Trying to finagle the camera. I was catching myself today, like craning my neck, trying to see around the screen somehow.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing, yeah. I'm like, I could have kept my head still. I didn't have to move it. But you're so absorbed. Yeah, that I feel like the randomizing things could lead to that, where it's like, even in an area I'm familiar with, I don't know what's here, what's around the corner. I mean, again, that's a rumor. There's nothing to like officially back that up, but I can't wait. And there's been like talk that there was a rumor a little while ago that Microsoft was looking to buy a Japanese developer, and some people were speculating it could be From Software, which I totally buy an Xbox just to play the From Software games. Absolutely. But Xbox's Phil Spencer denies reports that Microsoft is requiring Japanese studios, says Liana Rupert at Game Informer. When asked about potentially buying a Japanese studio, Phil Spencer said, and I actually think this is kind of an odd answer. He says, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not in every meeting that the team ever has, but I'll say not for me. I have a hard time believing that there's a possibility of someone working at Microsoft considering buying From Software and Phil Spencer doesn't know about it. Or any Japanese studio for that matter. So it's a denial, but I think it was like a weird way of phrasing the denial.
I mean, I'm sure that they have considered and have talked through many talks with Japanese developers. Like that is a big market that they are missing out on, that they have never performed well in. So I'm sure there are talks, but I doubt that that's going to be. Like From Software sounds like a big get, especially right after they just paid all that money for Bethesda.
Yeah. That was just me throwing my 2 cents in there. I don't want them to, because I'd much rather play From Software games on my PS5 with DualSense and haptics, because so far Demon's Souls is really good because of those haptics. Not just only because of the haptics, but it's a contributing factor. Yeah, Phil Spencer himself a little while ago said that he wants to have more Japanese developers. And of all the developers they've bought, there's not really a lot of Japanese representation there. So I think it's possible that they will in the future, but like you just said, they just put $7.5 billion in Bethesda. Let's see how that goes, and then we'll start expanding out a little bit more. So Microsoft's not doing that, but Microsoft does have some good 120 frame support. This comes from a few stories here. PS5 and Xbox Series X frame rates. 120 frame support has been added to Warzone on Xbox Series X, but not PS5. That's from Grant Huff at DualShockers. That has been confirmed by Digital Foundry, who said that the PS5 version is still 60 frames per second. And then on top of that, Rocket League won't run at 120 frames per second on PS5 due to, quote, how backwards compatibility is implemented. That's from Keanu Reeves at PlayStation Lifestyle. The developers of Rocket League essentially say that on Series X, it's just a minor patch to get 120 frames per second, whereas on PS5, they literally have to do like a full-on port of the game. So it's a much bigger undertaking to accomplish. So I think that's interesting. That doesn't mean that the PS5 is less powerful than the Series X, and so significantly that it can't handle 120 frames per second. It just means that the logic of the processor and kind of how things were made on an engineering level, it's just a different system than what Xbox Series X has. And to achieve better results, they have to put a little bit more work in. And this might be a bad example because I'm not trying to say PS5 has a poor architecture like the cell processor, but like you could get fantastic results out of the cell processor with PS3, more so than a 360 even, but you had to put in extra work to get that out of it. And I feel like that's kind of what they're saying here, but in a slightly different context.
I don't know if it's exactly that. It is
exactly that. It's just it's analogous.
But I think it's more of like the way that like Xbox put a lot of work into the software and firmware of the Xbox Series X and Xbox One series being able to make games work backwards compatible. They obviously, like, we know about the hard work that they put in on literally every single game. They went game by game to update them, make them backwards compatible. And now that's paying off in this type of scenario where, now that they've done that and that the software is kind of engineered that way, it's just a quick patch to make it do that. Whereas PS5 right now their firmware for PS5, their operating system for PS5 just, it has a backwards compatible mode to play PS4 games and has a PS5 mode to play PS5 games, and it doesn't really have a mode that scales between the two.
Its architecture is not designed for that full breadth of generations that they have. Yeah.
So I don't think this is going to be a trend that we're going to see a lot as things are getting designed for PS5 in the next year or two. We're going to start seeing this kind of stuff phase out. But it's literally just like we got to devote a couple more people to actually port the game over to PS5 versus just make it run backwards compatible, which is exactly what you're seeing with Warzone. Technically, if you buy Call of Duty Cold War, the Warzone that's within that game is not a PS5 game and it's not a Series X game. It is a last-gen game being run backwards compatible within a current-gen game. So that's why it's 120 on Xbox Series X and not on PS5. So as I mentioned, like, this is not going to be a thing that we saw with Xbox One, where it's like, this game runs at 900p, or this game runs at blah, 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 but on PS5 it can run that. It's just like, no, the developers just don't have the time to put in the work for PS5. But again, as they're developing this in the future for PS5 and not for PS4 and PS5, it's not going to be an issue. It's just for backwards stuff right now. Yeah.
And to kind of further that, and I think an interesting kind of spin on this story is Digital Foundry did a comparison of Series X and PS5 running Devil May Cry 5 Remastered. And when they put it in performance mode, they actually found that the PS5 had an easier time reaching 120 frames per second over the Series X. But it was very circumstantial. Sometimes the Series X in certain modes would actually perform better than the PS5. And it was definitely like they're pretty even. They're just better at different things than each other.
Right. It just took more work from Capcom. It just took more work to make that.
Yeah.
Rather than just saying, let's play it, and it'll just be backwards compatible. Yeah.
Yeah. And then again, that was like a full remaster. It's like they fully ported everything over. So you can get that. You just, like Chad said, you have to put in the extra work. One thing, though, that Microsoft Xbox Series X cannot do is make a ping pong ball float. And it can't also cause a feather to float either. So there were similar claims made about the Mac Pro in 2013 that actually just last week, I'm like, the ping pong ball floated on the Mac Pro. I totally thought that. I went back and found a video for it, and it can't do it either. It just can't do it, you guys. It's not possible. It's not a thing. The more you know.
We haven't done a show since the Series X came out, but also, like, don't put vape smoke in your Xbox Series X.
Yes.
And I love that Xbox, like the official Xbox account said, I can't believe we have to tell people this, but don't put vape smoke in your Xbox, please.
Yeah. I fell for those videos too, though, because it's not CGI. So I'm like, that's clearly not CGI. Like, that's real. That's happening. And I'm like, did like dust fall in there or something fell in the vent and started to like flame up? Like, oh no. Why would you put a vaporizer up to your, like, that's such a stupid idea. I really hope that they can detect when the vapor went through or not. And if someone has an issue with their Xbox Series X, they get denied service, because that's just, you purposefully fucked with your Xbox. So, dumb. Last two stories here. Sony feels transition period from PS4 to PS5 will be 3 years, says Dennis Patrick at GameRanks. Uncertain what this means for the cross-generation titles, but basically they're saying that PS4 will be supported for the next 3 years, which really shouldn't be surprising, because basically every console, PS2, PS3, they've talked about the 10-year cycle of the consoles. And this would bring it to 2023, which is 10 years for PS4. I don't think in recent memory they've ever said the whole, like, 10-year life cycle for all of our consoles. I haven't heard them say that in a long time, but it fits in with that. So I'm not surprised. Like, PS3 even wasn't discontinued immediately. PS2 was still being sold into 2009, I think even 2010, like 3 years after PS3. So, like, this isn't surprising.
It's a little surprising to me from a game standpoint, like there's not much history of Sony first party releasing games on older consoles outside of like God of War 2, which came out on PS2 after the PS3 launched.
Yeah.
But like when PlayStation 4 launched, Infamous Second Son was only on PS4. You couldn't play that on PS3, and all the titles going forward from there. Whereas this one, you know, we've got, at least for the next year, we've got confirmed titles that are coming to both PS4 and PS5. So it's a little unique there, I think, and it sounds like that's going to continue for a bit. But other than that, yeah, supporting the consoles, selling them, supporting the store, supporting servers, all that kind of stuff is nothing new.
Yeah. I do think that PS3 is a unique circumstance, though, because getting a game to run on both PS3 and PS4 is much harder than getting it to run on PS4 and PS2, and much harder to do for PS2 and PS3, just because of that cell architecture on the PS3. So I think that's an important distinction there. I don't know how similar that was, though, for PS1, PS2. I don't know how many like cross-generation games there were, or if we were really ever even talking about cross-generation at the time, because at the time, Sega and Nintendo kind of owning the industry. PlayStation owned the industry at that point, at the end of the 90s. But like with different cartridge formats and stuff, like cross-generation was never really a part of the discussion in the early years of the consoles.
It's also something that, you know, with the new media format of DVDs versus CDs, like you could suddenly fit so much more content on one disc that I doubt they were like, yeah, we're going to release a PS2 game and then also a 7-disc PS1 version of it as well.
Exactly, yeah. Like Final Fantasy was 3 discs. I can't imagine any game being more than that, because that was ridiculous already.
And you know, even with the graphical increase from PS1 to PS2, like it's not as subtle as the increase from PS4 to PS5, where you could make a dumbed down version of it. It's like, no, you have 12 polygons versus several hundred polygons. It's like,
yeah, the emotion engine. So much emotion on PS2.
Yeah, I felt it.
And our final story for the week, MPD. Switch sold more units in Q3 2020 than any platform since the DS in Q3 2009, says Liam Doolin at Nintendo Life. They sold 12.53 million units between April and September, and a total of 68.3 million units worldwide since launch. So basically, Nintendo's doomed. They should close the doors right now, because they're not going to make it. They're
Bring
doomed.
back the DS.
No, this is great news for Switch. It's doing really well. I am curious how the numbers evolve next year. I'm sure they're not going to be hit too hard by PS5 and Series
Switch
X.
Pro is going to come out after March 31st next year, so.
So, yeah, we'll see. I think it probably will too. But, yeah, I'm curious to see how those numbers evolve next year, because it's still on a great trajectory. And I think people kind of laughed at the idea when Switch first came out of hitting 100 million units in its life cycle. People were like, no way. Oh, yes way. It's totally going to happen. They're well on their way.
More like Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Get it? Like God.
Speaking of God, take us through Game on Game Show.
Yes, sir. Actually, God really
God
talks
be like yes, sir.
You got it. That's what God sounds like. Welcome to Game on Game Show, the game on our game show. We play a game called Game On, a game on a game show. Game. I said that wrong this time. Everyone fucking forgive me. Shut up. We have a new game we've never played before on Game Show this week. Yes, our episode's going to be a little shorter this week. We already warned you about that up front, so calm the fuck down. This one is called ESRB Matchy Chalky Chalk. Has nothing to do with hot chocolate, but I put matchy in there, and then I wanted to put chalky chalk in there because I knew it would make Holden smile.
I had some chalky chalk before we recorded.
You did?
I did.
I'm very proud of you.
Love chalky chalk.
I have 6 games that you're going to be guessing today. They're all launch titles for either Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5. And I'm going to... The clues I'm giving you are descriptions from the ESRB ratings.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to be reading through these, and I want you to just try to guess what the title is, which game I'm referring to. Obviously, some of these have been edited to not refer to in-game characters or the name of the game or things that might easily give them away. And I'm reading a selection of things from it rather than the entire description of it.
So it won't be as obvious as, like, rated E for web-slinging action.
Exactly,
it won't be,
yes.
Yeah.
I'm also not going to give you the rating itself. I'm just going to give you the description.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I think that would be too easy for some of these.
I don't really know ratings for games anymore, though. Like, as a kid, I could be like, that game is this rating. That game is this rating. Because as a kid, that rating matters to you playing that game or not. But as an adult, it's like, I can play anything. It doesn't matter. I don't care what the rating is anymore. I don't have kids.
But I think if I told you something was rated E, then that rules out, obviously, a lot of games that you know.
Absolutely, yeah. Not going to be Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for example.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so Holden, we're going to start with something I think is going to be a pretty easy guess for you. In fact, I think you're going to have an okay time with all of these, and it's going to be fun.
Okay.
The first one.
You say that, but I also couldn't say Dragon Ball, blah, blah, whatever.
Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3?
That one, yeah. So we'll see how well this really goes.
Game number 1. Characters mostly punch, kick, and throw each other during fights. Gunshots result in small splashes of blood when characters are hit. The words shit and asshole appear in dialogue. What launch game is this?
No, can we clarify something? Launch game. Does it have to have been released this week?
It has to be released. I think the earliest game is end of October.
Okay. End of October. Okay.
Yep.
One more time, the description.
Characters mostly punch, kick, and throw each other during fights. Gunshots result in small splashes of blood when characters are hit. The words shit and asshole appear in dialogue.
The only thing I can think of is Watch Dogs Legions, but that's not. I don't think that's it because it's not in that time frame. Or was it? That was in the time frame. It was the end of October.
That was end of October.
Is that the game?
That is not the game, Holden. I'm sorry. The game was Miles Morales, Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Oh, duh. Right. I'm thinking web-slinging action for Spider-Man. I'm not thinking guns.
Number 2. Cutscenes. There's some graphic language here. It's in the description. It's not me personally saying this language, although it is coming out of my mouth. Cutscenes depict further instances of violence, a man shot in the head, a crime lord beaten to death by several people, a character stabbed in the neck with a scalpel. The words fuck, cunt, and shit appear in the dialogue. The game contains some sexual material, red light districts with sex shops, advertising nude dancers, and sex toys.
Okay, that sounds more like Watch Dogs Legions.
That is Watch Dogs Legion, yes.
Yeah. Compared to the other one, that one makes much more sense for Watch Dogs Legions.
Of course, yep. Wonderful. Number 3. Some weapons allow players to perform finishing moves that depict impaling and or stabbing with occasional slow motion effects. Combat is accompanied by cries of pain and large blood splatter effects. One sequence depicts animal corpses strewn around a cave with visible entrails.
Probably going to be Sackboy: A Big Adventure.
That is Sackboy: A Big Adventure. Absolutely right.
No, Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
No. I'm sorry. That one is Demon's Souls.
Really? Okay. Interesting.
Yep. That is Demon's Souls. Players can defeat enemies by jumping on their heads, smacking them, or pulling their tails. Enemies sometimes get stunned with dizzy stars or disappear in a cloud of confetti and smoke. One song contains the word damn.
I don't know. It sounds more like an E-rated game. Because I think you can say damn in an E-rated game.
I don't know.
You can't answer. You can't answer that. No, you can't answer that. I'm talking out loud. I'm going to do really badly in this one. Is that one Sackboy: A Big Adventure?
That is Sackboy: A Big Adventure. Yes, absolutely. And technically, the song that's playing in the background says the word damn.
I will never let my children play that game with language against the good Lord.
We need to go on and Engage Family Gaming Podcast and say, no, absolutely not. Do not believe him. It's not meant for kids. All right, 2 more. Here we go. In some sequences, players can use gun-like blasters that shoot colored balls at frenetic pace. Players can also use a bow and arrow to defeat enemies, resulting in mild explosions. One game mode allows players to shoot others with blasters in order to disturb or stall opponents from completing an objective.
I was going to say Astro's Playroom until that last one. But I'm still going to say Astro's Playroom. But
That is Astro's Playroom. Yeah, I was confused by that last one too. I was like, what are you talking about? One game mode allows players to shoot others with blasters in order to disturb or stall opponents from completing an objective.
You platinumed it, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder
Maybe
if
there's
there's
DLC they
something in the
tested
time
and they haven't
trials.
shown
Maybe you
us
could
yet.
like trip people up or something like that.
Oh, maybe,
I
yeah.
don't know. Final game, Holden. Players also use swords, axes, arrows, and siege weapons to kill multiple enemies. Combat is highlighted by screams of pain and frequent blood splatter effects. Some weapons allow players to decapitate enemies. Zoomed-in sequences depict victims' bones, organs, and muscles getting damaged by players' blade.
That one's Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
I'm sorry, that is Sackboy: A Big Adventure again. No, you're right. That is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Well done. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. You got 4 out of 6. Hey,
Nice.
You know, if
I
we
got
were
a
to take
66%. I got a D+.
if we were to simplify
Actually, this
that
is a D.
fraction, that's 2 out of 3. And there's a song that says 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Holden, that's it for Game On Game Show, and that is it for our podcast this evening, episode 187 of Respawn Aim Fire. But we are not done this week. Remember, we've got our Xbox Series X review coming up with a lot of your friends on Monday, tomorrow, or yesterday if you're listening to this after we release it. We have our PS5 / Astrobot review spoiler cast there as well on Tuesday. Coming up in 2 days. And then we also have coming the week of Thanksgiving, obviously our normal episode, as well as starting our deluge of spoiler casts on launch games, including Miles Morales, Demon's Souls, Godfall, and more. So look for that. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Make sure you stay up to date. Subscribe on our podcast feed. Give us a lot of little likes in there. Give us some stars. Go to patreon.com/respawnaimfire because you get a lot of goodies there. You get to influence what we play. You get to play with us on Thursday nights. We didn't put in here that we played Siege. We played Rainbow Six Siege. We did that in Playroom. We played that last week.
And a PS5 update that actually wasn't real.
Yeah, we were like, we know that Siege is a launch game, but what's new about it? I don't know. Is it running in 60 frames? No, this is not 60 frames. I don't know. I've never played a game. It could be. No, it turns out it's just we were all playing the PS4 version and didn't know it just because the PS5 is not out yet. The PS5 version is not out yet. Anyway, so yeah, we'll be playing more this upcoming Thursday as well. Lots of fun goodies to do. And then also get dope wallpapers. Lots of good ones out there, including an Xbox Series X inspired one from the last couple weeks. And of course, you get all the previous ones as well. That's it. Holden, do you have anything else you want to say before we sign off tonight?
Can't wait to play more Demon's Souls.
Matt and Dallas, get your ponies ready to ride. We are jumping on to Europa to help Varkas. And now, for our usual sign-off, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.